Happy hump day, you dry humpers. I have a feeling you're going to need this today. From Hollywood, it's the world-famous Mojo Elliott. Just a nude dude in a loose mood, always unedited, unfiltered, and uninhibited. And thank you for stopping by for another action-packed adventure of the Rat's Ass Podcast. It is early here in California because I want to get this podcast done before the winds take out our power. We're still dealing with the LA wildfires. Now, since we last talked on Monday, my power has remained on, and we don't have any fires near us. And they're getting things pretty much under control, but today we've got high wind advisories coming back until 6 p.m. Pacific tonight. And I've got wind, pardon the pun, that the winds are whipping up in Malibu, and that's always scary for me, because when Malibu burns, I got to get ready to run like hell. If we're looking for some good news in all of this, recalls are ramping up for our slumlord Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass. The owner of the LA Times even came out and said, "We made a mistake in endorsing Karen Bass." That's why he never believed the press, never believed the print media especially. And I was thinking about this as I watched Gavin Newsom parade around on social media pointing fingers at everybody but himself. You know, the last thing I want to hear from a governor in a time of crisis is, "I don't know." I don't know. What a real leader does is gather the facts and then presents them to the public. But he's too busy trying to save his ass and political career to do it the right way. He's not a leader. And this guy wants to be the president of the United States in 2028. I think his career is done. D-O-N-E. DOA. Reports say that the LA Fire Department was down up to 100 fire trucks. Now, you would think if these guys had their SHIT together, they would know that in November, that's when fire season starts, that we need 100% of the vehicles ramped up, ready to go. Up to 100 fire trucks out of service. Can you believe that? Now, Democrats are all pissed off here in California because Speaker Mike Johnson said any aid coming to California will come with stipulations. He said maybe stipulations. And here's why. California, since Governor Gavin Newsom has taken over, number one, we went from a $90 billion surplus to over a $100 million deficit in less than 6 years. $184.6 billion. Did you hear that right? $184.6 billion have been either wasted or gone unaccounted for since Newsom took office. $128 billion for a bullet train that has nothing to show for it, nothing completed. $24 billion for the homeless just went poof, out of nowhere, disappeared. Nobody knows where the money went. $24 billion. Another $34.6 billion in COVID fraud that went missing, yet Newsom can afford a $9.1 million home on a $234K per year salary. Something's not adding up here. This is why Speaker Mike Johnson says there might need to be some stipulations. Now, as I said, since Monday, we haven't experienced any more power outages. We have no more threats of fires, and that's a good thing. But I still remain vigilant and ready to split on a moment's notice. I listened to some of the radio coverage. I'm going to give some tips here because the programmers of today, they really have no idea what the hell they're doing. You know, again, this is where DEI, people get moved up simply because of who they know, not what they know. So much of the radio coverage where our politicians kissing each other's ass, pissing on each other's legs, good job here, we're doing a great job this, they're doing a great job. Nobody wants to hear that crap during a time of crisis. But the radio stations put this shit on, and it's crap. So I want to give them a couple of tips. It's real easy. Okay? In a time of crisis, your coverage should be like a scroll on TV. It is very repetitive, and I know it's boring as hell for the talent. But it needs to repeat every 5 minutes, over and over again. When you have dignitaries coming on board and bureaucrats, and they're speaking about things, only record them, and you cut out the pertinent information. You leave out all the happy backslapping, butt-slapping stuff. You just leave it out. And that's why you record it. And then you add that to your scroll. But it's constant, nonstop, information, information, information. You got to put yourself in the listener's shoes. So picture this. I'm stuck in traffic on the freeway. I'm looking in my rearview mirror, and all I see is smoke and flames coming my way. And I'm listening to the radio, and I'm hearing Karen Bass going, "Oh, we're doing such a wonderful job, and, our city's resilient, and we're going to stick together and stay together, and we're going to get through this." That's not what I want to hear as I see flames barreling down on my ass as I sit on the freeway. I want to know when the freeway is going to open. I want to know how far back I am on the freeway that I'm jammed in. And I want to know, am I going to have to get out of my car and run like hell and leave it stranded on the freeway? That's what you have to picture in your mind. Instant information over and over and over again. Okay? So nobody, again, really gives a rat's ass about what the dignitaries have to say. Record the information that you can use, but keep that scroll rolling at all times. How important was high school in your life? When you think about it, it's a 4-year blip on your radar. And the older you get, I would think it becomes less and less important to you. But I've found, because of social media, high school, there are a lot of people who still live their high school days over and over. It's like Springsteen, glory days. And they still want to stay in touch with their high school friends. And it's just like we're old, but we're still having fun in study hall. I bring this up because Classmates.com has been around since about 1996, and as a gag on the radio during the morning show, I remember doing a bit that we signed up for Classmates.com. And I was probably fairly active with Classmates for about, 10, 12 years, till about, I'm going to say around 2009, 2010. Then I just forgot about it. Didn't really stay up with anybody. Didn't care. We were all caught up, and everybody moved to Facebook anyway, right? All of a sudden, I start getting all of these emails recently, and I didn't pay attention to a lot of them, saying that several people were looking at my profile. First of all, I forgot I had a profile on Classmates. But after we got to, 25, 30 emails saying that different people were hitting my profile, I got curious. So I signed up for a free trial and went to my profile. And I got to tell you, I didn't recognize one single person. Not a name, not a face, nothing. So I'm wondering, have I forgotten most of the people I went to high school with? I must have, because I was looking at this. I'm like, I don't know who this person is. Should I know this person? How would I remember this person? Now, my graduating class was 421 people. I didn't know everybody. Truth be told, I have 5 people from my childhood and through my high school years that I've stayed in touch with throughout the years. That's it. So rightfully so, I haven't gone to high school reunions. I think I went to my 15, and that was it. And even then, I remember who in the hell is that? And thank God they had the name tags on, because a lot of the guys had lost their hair. A lot of the girls had stopped wearing the hairspray in their hair, too. I didn't recognize them without the Aquanet. But it's just odd to me that this is happening. So I'm kind of curious to find out if you've experienced the same thing recently. If you're on Classmates, if you wouldn't mind, shoot me an email at ratsasspodcast@gmail.com. Tell me what your experiences are, and we'll share it here on the Rat's Ass Podcast, all right? All right, who's ready for some loose behavior? I know I am. Pull up your pants, and let's see what's happening on the Rat's Ass Podcast X feed. This is where we choose an interesting post on X and share a few comments to get us warmed up. Gen X Rewind posted this. If you met your 18-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give yourself? Brady Smith said, go to college and party more, study less. Probably a good idea, Brady. You only get your college years once. Most people were pretty disciplined, as I remember. Sunday through Thursday, they studied, hit the books, but by Thursday night, man, it was party time. Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday, nobody went to class on Friday. Nobody. Mandy Murphy said, don't ever get married, but if you do, only do it once. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Mandy's going to give herself there. I don't know how many times she's been married, but she just said, don't ever get married. But if you do, only do it once. Cammie Thomas said, work less and have more sex. I think we can all applaud that. For 18 again. and you've put a few miles behind you, you look back and say, God, I should have had more sex. All right, here's today's Hollywood Sleaze for you. The Grammy Awards will take place as scheduled on February 2nd. I've been to the Grammy Awards, and it's not so much the awards, it's the after parties where all the debauchery takes place. But I'm guessing this year just won't be the same without Sean Diddy Combs. All right, brace yourselves. After splitting with her husband, Eric Johnson, Jessica Simpson is working on her first album in 15 years. Can you wait? Now, there's no word on what the album is going to be called, but if I may, how about something like My Tuna Still Tastes Like Chicken? 80s pop star Madonna, the pop idol, got tongues wagging when the soon-to-be 67-year-old published photos of herself laying on a bed wearing a black mini dress. What they left out, though, the tongues wagging were a bunch of 70-something-year-old men, but, so much for details. Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and his wife Brittany have welcomed their third child to their family, a daughter named Golden Ray Mahomes. Congratulations to the Mahomes family. That brings their grand total to 2 daughters and 1 son. And Patrick, who recently said 3 was enough, is now leaving the door open for a 4th child, just in case a baby mama shows up. All right, but who gives a rat's ass? All right, the wait's over. This is what you come for, the Rat's Ass Podcast email from our Gmail. The idea here is you email your comments, questions, thoughts, and observations to ratsasspodcast@gmail.com, and I respond on the podcast. No topic is off the table, so give it your best shot. I do not read your emails in advance. My producer, Fleabag. Everybody wave at Fleabag. He feels unwanted these days. Anyway, he forwards me your name, where you're from, and rewrites them so I can respond rapid fire and on the fly. So here we go. Taylor J. from Nampa, Idaho, says, I'm happy to hear you escaped the fires in Los Angeles. Thank you, Taylor. And I just wanted to say the nickname Slumlord you gave Gavin Newsom is 100% spot on, dude. Well, thank you very much, Taylor. I appreciate that. I've been calling him the Slumlord for about 5 years now. I'm not sure it's catching on yet, but I'll keep branding him as the Slumlord because that's what he is. If you've been to Oakland, you know why I call him the Slumlord. If you've been to San Francisco, you know why I call him the Slumlord. I got to tell you, he's really getting reamed by a lot of the media because when Xi Jinping showed up from China, he cleaned up the streets of San Francisco, and he used the phrase, hey, you clean up your house when you get company. He showed how quickly they could clean those streets up, and now it's right back with, nasty, just a nasty place. So that's why I call him the Slumlord. All right, Bobby K. from Ames, Iowa says, what is the best way to attract the guy I'm interested in? Acting hot and nasty or sweet and innocent? Bobby, I'll tell you, sweet and innocent will attract him, but hot and nasty in the sack will keep him interested, for about 20, 30 minutes tops. All right, Marco Q. from Visby, Sweden says, if you could give Donald Trump a piece of advice, what would it be? I'll tell you what, he better keep his promise about no taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security, or the momentum he's built up for the Republican Party will die on the vine. That's my advice to him. Keep your damn promise ASAP. First 100 days, I want to hear no taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security. Jesse B. from Starksville, Mississippi. What band do you wish you could have seen live and didn't when you had the chance? Great question, Jesse. It'd be Led Zeppelin in Cleveland in 1977. A girl I wasn't really dating her, but I had interest in her. I asked her to go to the concert. And the night before, we were supposed to go to Cleveland. And I grew up near the Pittsburgh area, by the way. It's about a 3-hour drive. She was in an auto accident and didn't get badly hurt, but she wasn't feeling well, so she said, I can't go to the concert. I mean, this is what girls would do to get out of going on a date with me. Even Led Zeppelin tickets couldn't get them to go. But I sold them for 4 times what I paid for the tickets. Now get this, in 1977, to see Led Zeppelin, it was $15 a ticket. That's it. I spent $30 for 2 tickets. So I made a $90 profit. And back in 1977, that was a good bit of money. I got to tell you, you were really feeling like you were Donald Trump in the 80s with an extra $90. But unfortunately, Led Zeppelin's last concert in the United States was in July of 1977, oddly enough, in Oakland, which was a nice place at the time until slumlord Gavin Newsom took over the governorship of California. David G. in Youngstown, Ohio said, "Have you ever seen J-Lo's butt up close and personal?" No, I haven't, David, and I'm not sure I would have survived if I had. But I have seen Kim Kardashian up close and personal, and I can confirm when she walks, her ass does look like a sack of cats fighting. Kim D. from Alberta, Canada. "Do you really ad-lib your entire podcast without editing? Are you BSing us? And I want to hear another one of your radio hijinks stories." Have you listened, Kim? Oh, there are so many places I could edit, but no, I absolutely take pride in just opening the microphone and letting it flow for 20, 25 minutes. It's the way I did it when I was on the air, and there's no reason to be like all of these jag-offs today who record everything and make everything sound just perfect. I'm not perfect, and the podcast shouldn't be perfect, so trust me, I do no editing at all. So you want to hear another radio hijinks story, huh? Okay. I've got so many. I'm just going to go with ones that pop into my mind. And it seems like, radio got really, corporate in the mid-'80s. I'd say mid to late 80s, and took all the fun out of it. So most of my stories are going to come from probably late 70s throughout the mid part of the 80s. But I do remember my first meeting that I attended. Because I was an athlete, my first radio job was doing sports play-by-play, and that's what I really wanted to do. And because nobody would cover the Pittsburgh Penguins because they were lousy at the time, they said, "Hey, if you want to do sports play-by-play, we'll get you a mentor for that, but we need you to cover the Penguins because we want our season tickets to give up to clients." And I said, "Okay." And for this, they made me sports director. Just because I would go cover the Penguins. They gave me a title. So radio. But the money still sucked. My first salary in radio was $145 a week. That was it. But I was the sports director. So I was the cock of the walk, baby. Cock of the walk. So we're sitting down in my first meeting, and we've got the general manager, the sales manager, the program director, the news director, the music director, the promotions director, and me, the sports director. That's 7 people. Now, our general manager at the time had a firm rule that I always carried on throughout my career. Meeting time starts at 9 o'clock, the door goes shut, and if you're late, you don't get in. That's a fabulous rule for anybody who runs an office, a company. It's just a great rule because everybody's on time, boom, boom, boom. So we sit down, he shuts the door at 9 o'clock. First thing he does, he whips out 7 shot glasses and a bottle of Wild Turkey. And the rule is, you get 1 shot, you slam down the shot glass, you get another shot, and you throw the shot glass in his fireplace. How cool of a meeting was that? Lined up 7 shot glasses, poured the Wild Turkey. We all took the shot, slammed it down. I don't think I'd had a shot of whiskey in my life at that point. Like I said, I was an athlete. Body's a temple. Oh, I was swimming after 1 shot, and then he comes with the second one. I missed the fireplace. I hit the wall by the fireplace. Yeah, that was my first radio meeting. And thinking of another story here, I'll save it for another podcast, but it does involve a very badly bruised penis. All right? All right, keep sending your emails with your thoughts, observations, comments, and questions to ratsasspodcast@gmail.com. And I'll give you my 2 cents that makes absolutely no sense on the next episode. I do need to run, but I do have one more thing. As you know, I always have one more thing. Did you know there are more injuries annually from guys and girls shaving their private parts than there are car accidents in the United States? Oh, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Oh, God. Maybe they should start teaching shaver's ed in high school, too. All right, shout-outs to people listening in the USA, folks in Ashburn, Virginia, Prineville, Oregon, and Chicago, Illinois, the Windy City. I would venture to say LA's got some competition with LA right now, Chicago. Globally, folks in Galway, Ireland, Berlin, Germany, and Manchester, England. And wherever you listen, thanks for tapping the apps. That's it for this episode of the Rat's Ass Podcast. You'll find us on the socials when you search for Rat's Ass Podcast on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, where you can also link to the Rat's Ass Podcast blog and read about the 3 sides to everyone's personality. Everybody has 3 sides. Do you know what they are? Go find out. We'll do this again on Friday, January 17th. Take care of each other, and thanks again for listening to the Rat's Ass Podcast, a division of Mark Elliott Media in partnership with the Ozone Podcast Group.